Welcome to the Virtual PA podcast. Thinking about outsourcing? Consider whether it is an expense or means of growing your business.
All right, Helen, let's jump right into it. Outsourcing. It's one of those strategies that's really shaped the way businesses, especially startups, operate today. You're a tech startup, for instance, juggling admin tasks when what you really need is to focus on core growth strategies.
Exactly. And that's where employing a virtual assistant or even delegating things like data entry or financial tasks can make all the difference. It clears your plate for the things that matter most, like innovating, scaling, or just, getting your product out there.
And not to mention, it's incredibly cost-effective. I remember this UK startup, small team, limited budget. They outsourced their financial administration to an external firm. The result? Overheads practically halved, and they suddenly had this room to breathe.
That's such a great point. And let's not forget the access to skilled professionals. You're not just limited to your local talent pool. You could, for example, hire a marketing expert in New York or a web developer in Bangalore, all without adding permanent staff or major costs to your business.
And this isn't just theory. Back when I was in corporate, years ago now, of course, we needed to ramp up sales without bogging the team down with admin tasks. So, we outsourced data entry to this external group, freed up the core team to focus entirely on strategic sales. Productivity, honestly, went through the roof.
That's such a relatable example. It's those real-world wins that show why outsourcing can be transformative for businesses. The improved productivity, the ability to focus on your strengths. There's a clear strategic advantage, isn't there?
Absolutely. But,
John, as we dive deeper, let's talk about the flip side. What happens when outsourcing doesn't deliver? Quality control, for instance, that's a risk we can't ignore, right?
it definitely is. When you hand over a part of your business to someone external, you lose that direct oversight. And honestly, that can lead to some serious consequences. Just look at a few big retail brands that outsourced their customer service. Some ended up facing backlash because the quality just wasn't meeting the mark.
Right? And it's not just about the product, but the brand reputation too. And then there's the issue of diminished flexibility. Let's say you need to pivot your operations quickly. It's not always easy to get outsourced teams aligned with those changes.
Yeah, it's true. And that's why communication becomes this make or break factor. If that's not strong, you risk delays. Or worse, misunderstandings that can cost even more to fix down the line.
Exactly. I actually had this experience once, where we brought in a freelance project manager for a big marketing campaign. It seemed great at first, but their commitment just wasn't there. Midway through the project, let's just say things were, left in disarray. Cost us weeks of delays and a lot of scrambling internally.
Yeah, it's those kinds of lessons that remind you why loyalty and commitment are non-negotiables when outsourcing. But Helen, what do you think? How do businesses keep all that in check? How do they know their outsourced teams are actually performing well?
Performance metrics, no doubt about it. Whether it's tracking deadlines, analysing output quality, or even looking at communication efficiency, metrics are key. Let's look at virtual PA services. Not only we strive to consistently meet targets, but we also share monthly reports on completed tasks and productivity benchmarks. It's transparency that builds trust,
Absolutely. And the more measurable the outcomes, the easier it is to identify issues early. It's just smart business management. Now, building on what we were saying about measurable outcomes and trust, it leads to an even bigger question. How do businesses know when it's the right time to outsource? It's not just slapping tasks onto someone else's plate, right?
Exactly. It starts with a really honest evaluation of your business needs. Look at roles like bookkeeping or HR management. These can be outsourced quite effectively if your in-house team doesn't have the capacity or expertise.
And what makes it even more compelling is how outsourcing can free you, truly free you, to focus on what you're best at. But long-term sustainability, and let's be honest here, can be tricky. Wage increases, market shifts. It all adds up eventually.
True. And that's where hybrid models come in. You keep critical operations in-house and outsource specific tasks that are easier to scale, like customer support or IT troubleshooting. It's a balance, right?
Right. Actually, I know a mid-sized firm that did just that. They outsourced parts of their research, initially for cost reasons, but the result? They had the capacity to innovate far faster than they ever could have managed in-house. It completely redefined their market strategy.
That's such a great example. But for me, it always circles back to thorough evaluations. Like when you're considering virtual PA services, for example, finding ones that align with your specific goals, not just ticking boxes for admin support. That's the crucial first step.
Absolutely, Helen. It's about doing the groundwork, figuring out where outsourcing fits into your overall strategy, not just how much it costs today. And honestly, that's been the theme of our chat, hasn't it? Balancing benefits and challenges.
I couldn't agree more. Outsourcing is powerful, but only if it's intentional. So to everyone listening, take the time to assess, strategize, and partner smartly. Do that, and outsourcing can be, well, transformational.
And that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Helen, as always, brilliant insights.
Thanks, John. Love the discussion. And to all our listeners, until next time, take care.
Stay tuned for our next podcast.